There was once a time on the internet when the scariest game wasn't made by a large AAA company. It was a free download you got off a sketchy website. Back when YouTubers alike were getting the absolute shit scared out of them by PNGs and less scary jump scares. The early 2010s for horror games holds a special place in my heart. The era of Let's Plays, dyed hair, nightcore, and creepypastas. It will forever be my favourite era of the internet. And today, I want to take you all down a nostalgia-filled trip through some of my favourite early 2010s internet horror games. Let's begin. To give context for what I will cover today, I'm going to go over some horror games you may or may not know. These games are Slenderman, The 8 Pages, Ebe, Yandere Simulator, Cry of Fear, and Five Nights at Freddy's. I feel like these 5 games best represent this era of the internet, and if there is a game here you feel deserves a spot, and I'm forgetting it, let me know down below, and who knows, maybe I'll do a sequel to this video. Now, to put into perspective what the internet was like during this time, gaming was very different back then, and specifically internet horror games were. These games never really had marketing campaigns or advertisements, just word of mouth and let's plays. And now while they are a shell of their former self nowadays, let's plays used to be huge, with YouTubers raking in millions of views on them just by playing a game with minimal editing. And hey, I'm not knocking or discrediting these videos or YouTubers at all. I mean, this is literally all I would watch back in the day. But many of these games I'm about to discuss would blow up just from a few YouTubers playing them and their videos going viral. It was just a different time back then. I feel like it's only right to start with, in my opinion, the game that really kicked off this era of the internet. That being Slenderman, The 8 Pages. Released on June 26, 2012, this game made players afraid of a tall Caucasian man in a suit. On a real note, the game was based on a creepypasta created by Eric Hunsen in 2009. And on a side note, I miss creepypastas so bad, can we please bring them back in 2025? Anyways, the game's premise is a simple one. You spawn into a woodland area with a flashlight and not much else. You get told to collect 8 pages and that's it, off you go. Players can then wander on as they search the woods for these pages. And I don't know for sure, but it seems like players are safe until they collect at least 1 page, which then spawns in the Slenderman. Slenderman will chase after players. To avoid Slenderman, you must look away from him. Looking at Slenderman causes the player's vision to go all staticky, and looking at him for too long will trigger a spooky jump scare which will end the game. So gameplay is simple. Walk around, get pages, don't look at the white guy, and you're good. Now collecting all 8 pages rewards players with absolutely nothing, as Slenderman will just jump scare you anyways. And that's the game. It's simple, it's basic, but that's why it worked. And hey, even though it may not seem scary to you now compared to modern horror games, when recording gameplay for this video, it made me piss myself a few times, I must admit. Now where Slenderman succeeded in scaring people is why it did so well, because that meant it could scare the YouTubers. Slenderman seriously blew up on YouTube, with videos on the game just raking in the views. And this is kinda where the viral let's play react to the scary thing on screen genre was born. Viewers wanted to see their favourite creators scream at the white man. Ah! You didn't even need to be good at the game or commentary. The game was simple in design and so was the content surrounding the game. I mean, Slenderman even got so popular, it got a movie in 2018. A bad one, but still it got a movie. That being said, Slenderman is an iconic horror game. Its simple gameplay and iconic monster, on top of its pretty good and suffocating atmosphere, make it a real fun and scary game to play. Although, it's not a game you can sink a bunch of time into. It's just a quick pick up, play, get scared, never touch its.exe file ever again type of game. Shifting gears completely for our next game today is Ebe. Again, like Slender, Ebe blew up on YouTube. Now Ebe by no means was half as popular as Slenderman. However, it's grown a cult-like fanbase, to which even recently we have seen a modern remake of the game, crossovers with other games, as well as merchandise. Now why is this impressive, you may ask? Well, Ebe is an RPG Maker game. Now an RPG Maker game was made on the RPG Maker engine, which was a very popular game engine for indie devs around this time period. And Ebe was one of the big ones. Again, this game was picked up by the usual large YouTubers for let's plays and such, but also like Slender, this game was shared for free around, and it spread like wildfire. Ebe is a simple story puzzle based horror game, developed by Curry and released on February 27th, 2012. The game follows the story of Ebe, a young girl who travels to an art museum with her parents. We can explore the art gallery and take in Ebe's wonderful atmosphere. As we explore the art gallery, we can even see when reading the descriptions of some paintings that Ebe, due to her age, can't actually read every word, which is a really fun detail. After exploring for a bit, things take a turn for the worst, as we see everyone, including Ebe's parents, have all but vanished. and the paintings and art gallery have seemingly come to life. The tone and atmosphere here completely changes, with the sounds of what seems to be footsteps overpowering every other sound. It makes me feel like someone is coming after me, and it makes traversing the colourful pixel art museum pretty unnerving to say the least. Eve then wanders into a painting, which sucks her into another world of sorts. Players must navigate through puzzles while avoiding the now hostile and lethal art pieces from hurting Eve. As remember, she's just a little girl and has no means to defend herself. Eve is a short and sweet horror game with a really heartfelt story, great characters and atmosphere. And yeah, it is limited due to its engine. However, I feel like Eve uses this to its advantage. It's so from this time, if that makes sense, and I love it so much. Seriously, this game is wonderful, and if you haven't already, please play this or the remake version. Although the original, like I said, is free to play, which is nice. Cry of Fear is a game that you're probably familiar with if you're big into survival horror games, but if you're a more casual fan, it may have slipped under your radar. Cry of Fear is a 2012 indie survival horror game developed and published by Team Cyclizar, and was initially developed as a mod for the original Half-Life. However, it was then developed and turned into its own game. Now, Cry of Fear also released in the same year as 2012, just like both Eve and Slenderman. However, it kind of fell in with all the other Half-Life mods and Gmod Scary Map games out at the time. Big YouTubers did, yes, pick up Cry of Fear and do Let's Plays, but Cry of Fear is a much deeper game than the average jumpscare fest releasing at this time. Cry of Fear explores many themes associated with mental health, including anxiety, depression, self-harm and suicide. The game in many ways reminds me of Silent Hill 2 in the best ways possible. Cry of Fear follows Simon Henriksen as he ends up finding himself in an accident. He recovers and wakes up to find no one around and a text message from his mother asking him to come home. Players set off and find that there is something not quite right going on around here. The game features classic survival horror elements such as resource management for health, ammo and even stamina, which can deplete very quickly and is essential in combat. Although I won't go too in depth now, the story is very deep, and for a small indie dev team at the time, it's very impressive, and it's going to have you thinking about its story for days on end. In recent times, it seems Cry of Fear has formed a cult-like following due to a few video essays blowing up. One that comes to mind is Pyrocynical's take on the game, which you should definitely watch, by the way, it's excellent. And 20 million views is nothing to scoff at, by the way. Cry of Fear was around during this age of the internet. However, I do feel like it wasn't as big as the rest of the games I'm discussing. And guess what? It's free to download and play on Steam right now, so go check it out. Cry of Fear is excellent, and I do plan on doing multiple videos on it in the future, so please do look forward to those. Now, believe it or not, but this right here is in fact a horror game. Strange developers aside, this is Yandere Simulator, a game which has no release date as it's never going to be finished, but it first released in some state back in 2014, and it kinda took over. The game features a basic premise. You play as Ayano Aishi, a Yandere schoolgirl. What is a Yandere? Well, it's a popular trope in anime. A Yandere is basically a psychotic, love-obsessed character who usually has murderous tendencies and an insane obsession for one person. Think of the likes of Yuna Gasai, who is from the anime Future Diary. She actually popularized the Yandere character prior to this game's release. The game was developed by the self-titled Yandere dev, who has done some pretty bad stuff that I'm not getting into. But there is many videos out there that have documented both the history of this game and its solo developer and all he has done, so please check those out. That being said, Yandere Simulator was initially released in a beta stage in 2014, and it gathered attention quickly. The build you see here is the earliest version of the game I could find. It features many test areas and it barely functions as a game, but you can see its core concept still shining through. The game's concept drew many people in. You play as Ayano Aishi as she makes her way around her school, killing anyone who comes between her and her senpai, her crush if you will. The game also was kinda controversial because of a few reasons. The game features panties, like a lot. You can change the main character's panties which will affect the gameplay, as well as a gameplay feature being taking panty shots of other girls in school. Yeah, schoolgirls, panty shots, upskirts, yeah. And on top of this, the game features a pretty deep level of violence. I was kinda shocked at first when I played it at how gory some of these kills were, especially given its school setting. Yandere Simulator was picked up by some big YouTube accounts for Let's Plays, which I feel led to its massive success. And although the game may never finish its development cycle, there is definitely fun to be had here. And I will admit also, this was one of the games back in the day I posted about liking just to be edgy and seem older and cooler, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. Now finally we come to the biggest game in this video, Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, what can I say that already hasn't been said about Five Nights at Freddy's? It perfectly captures this era of the internet. It consolidates everything: creepypastas, forums, let's play videos, limited indie devs. It's like every game I've discussed so far put together. Five Nights at Freddy's was developed by Scott Cawthon on the ClickTeam Fusion engine in about 6 months. Scott Cawthon was once a struggling indie game dev. At the time, he was developing self-funded Christian adventure games, and he wasn't doing great. He received overwhelming criticism on his game Chipper and Sons, which led to Scott's depression. At a loss for where his future was going to go, Scott turned to one of the criticisms that stuck out to him about Chipper and Sons, in which someone who reviewed the game stated that the characters looked like creepy animatronics and that they were scary. This caused Scott to do a complete 180 on his usual games he made, and led to the development of Five Nights at Freddy's, and the rest is history. I mean, FNAF really took the internet by storm, with something as simple as Markiplier's first video playing the game reaching a staggering 123 million views on just a simple Let's Play video. When I mentioned earlier how FNAF was everything this era on the internet was consolidated, I meant that. The game caused endless theories and speculation online due to its cryptic nature. So many theories on if the place was real, was the game based on a true story, and so on. Even many hoaxes around the game spread all over the internet, some of which little me believed to be true. You will always be real in my heart, Sparky the dog. Now, if you don't know what Five Nights at Freddy's is somehow, or if you just heard the name and don't know much about it, let me inform you. The premise is a simple one. You take on the role of a night guard who finds a job working for Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. You must watch over the building and its cast of animatronics from 12 AM to 6 AM. However, on your first night, you are informed via phone call that these animatronics are not your average robots.
Hello? Hello? I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night. The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night, but so just be aware, the characters do tend to wander a bit too. But then there was the bite of 87.
Was that the bite of 87?
It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
And they seem to be possessed by evil spirits. The animatronics come after the player, and your only defense is 2 doors on the left and right side of your office. However, the building has a limited power supply, because of course it does. And the doors require power to be used, so you can't keep these doors closed all night. And why FNAF stood out from the rest is due to how different it was from horror games releasing at the time. Most horror games releasing then drove players down 2 gameplay paths. You would either A, fight monsters like in Cry of Fear, or you would B, run away from the monsters like in Eve and Slenderman. However, FNAF doesn't give the player either of these options, but a third one instead. You must prolong the inevitable in order to live. Now we know how to stop the killer animatronics from getting to us, but how do we see what's actually coming to kill us? Well, players can watch over the pizzeria through the game's cameras, but remember, they also use your limited power, so don't use them too much. We see and meet the cast of animatronics through these cameras. You have Bonnie the Bunny, Cheeky the Chicken, Foxy the Pirate, and Freddy Fazbear, the star of the show. FNAF was again a very limited game, but that doesn't stop its horror and scares from being super effective. I think it's largely down to the game's excellent sound design as to why it's so scary. Although a lot of the sounds used in the game were just stock sounds Scott altered, and they work great. The ambient noises as you are stuck helpless in the security office are terrifying. The sounds of animatronics moving about, singing songs and laughing gets into the player's head easily and scares the shit out of them. We can see how effective this horror is with the amount of funny reaction moments that are out there of YouTubers getting jump scared. But also, the game's overall vibes and atmosphere are incredible. The small spaces, killer animatronics, and the game's very simple gameplay heighten the scare factor even more so. FNAF has gone on to spawn countless sequels, as well as books and even movies, which is crazy to see from such a small indie game made by one man, and I feel its success wouldn't be replicated if it had released today in the modern era. Back then, the internet felt more tight-knit, if you will. FNAF rode the wave of Let's Plays and YouTubers high, and it spread far and wide, and it's probably the game I hold closest to my heart from this video. FNAF was lightning in the bottle, a product of its time and developer, and that's why it's so special to me and many people out there. A common trend you will have noticed in this video was the game's features today were all super simple, easy to play, and widely shared online. They also left a lot to your imagination, with the likes of FNAF and Slenderman spawning countless theories online, and this only helped to spread these games around. The early 2010s for horror games was just different. It felt like a special club that I was a part of. Going online every day with unsupervised internet access and seeing new lore videos on FNAF, or watching creepypasta videos until I got too scared and had to click away. We didn't need crisp 4K visuals and ray tracing, we had buggy low resolution nightmares that haunted us. And that is why early 2010s internet horror games were so special. So, is there any games featured here that you fondly remember, or did I miss something crucial that should be here? If I did, please let me know what game it is down below and your favourite memories playing such a game. I know this is a little different from my usual content, although I did manage to slip in a little Silent Hill 2 mention there. Do let me know down below if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like this in the future. That'll be all for me today, so I want to thank you so very much for watching this video, and I will see you on my next one. Peace.